Welcome to our discussion on the digital divide, its impact on access, and its broader implications in society. It's like, you know, the gap that exists between those who have access to computers and the internet and those who don't.
Yeah, exactly. Right. And it's fascinating because the whole concept goes beyond just having the latest gadget. It touches on social and information inequalities, right?
Absolutely. It's not just about physical access. You see, initially, digital divide research around the late 90s and early 2000s was focused on physical access, meaning who owns computers or has a reliable internet connection.
Absolutely. And then researchers shifted to what's often referred to as the second level or even deepening divide, which really digs into the skills and actual usage of these resources, isn't it?
Yes, exactly. Initially, there was this overemphasis on simple access, how many people had physical devices, but soon scholars realized the real challenge was going beyond access to capacitate users with the skills to appropriate digital technologies effectively.
Right. That's really crucial. I mean, it's like having a car is one thing, but knowing how to drive and navigate traffic safely is another level entirely.
Mhm. And this process is encapsulated in what Van Dyke calls resources and appropriation theory. It's like a two-step dance. First, you consume or acquire the resource, and then you learn how to use it and integrate it into
Exactly,
your
yeah.
daily life.
So it sounds like this theory is kind of an amalgam of, ideas from both structuration theory and technology acceptance theories, right?
Yeah, it is. The framework envisions that categorical inequalities, like differences in age, income, education, and even politics, play a big role in how resources are distributed. And that unequal distribution then leads to differences in, well, actual access and usage.
Interesting point. I find it intriguing how the framework points out that access isn't static. It evolves over time, from motivation and initial acceptance to physical access, skills access, and finally usage access. Could you elaborate on that progression?
Sure thing. Initially, people have to be motivated to adopt new technology. In the early days, many folks, especially seniors or low-educated individuals, were skeptical or even fearful of computers. But with time, the necessity to connect socially and economically pushed up
Right,
motivation.
absolutely. It's almost like a chicken and egg scenario, isn't it? People need to believe it's useful to then learn how to use it, and using it effectively reinforces its usefulness.
Exactly. And once that motivational barrier is conquered, physical access kicks in. That's where factors like income and education have traditionally played a role. In developed countries, as more people gained access, the gap began to narrow. But interestingly, in developing countries, it still remains a significant issue.
For sure. I remember reading that surveys showed a dramatic push in places like the Netherlands, where almost 96% of the population was motivated to have internet access by 2012. That's kind of mind blowing.
It is indeed. And then we have skills access, which goes beyond just owning a device. This involves digital literacy, being able to search for information, communicate, and even create content. The point is, having access is multi-layered.
Exactly, yeah. Now, something I find a bit challenging is how we evaluate these digital skills. Self assessments often lead to over or underestimations, right?
You got it. Many surveys ask people to rate their digital skills, but that isn't always reliable. Objective measures, like performance tests, are far more labor-intensive and less common. This is one of the key challenges in digital divide research.
I see what you mean. And then, after skills come usage, access. Now, I always think of this as the final frontier, where having the resource translates into actual benefits, like job opportunities or even political engagement.
Precisely. Usage access looks at how digital media becomes interwoven into, say, economic, social, political, and cultural participation. It's interesting to note that in some advanced economies, people with lower education levels might even spend more time online, but often in a more limited way.
Right, yeah. So while overall usage might increase, there's a sort of usage gap in terms of diversity and quality of use between different social groups.
Exactly. Higher educated users tend to employ digital technologies for capital-enhancing purposes, like education, career development, and creating content, whereas others may focus on leisure and simple communications. It really reflects back on the underlying social and economic inequalities.
Definitely. I also noticed that the framework doesn't see access as a permanent condition. It evolves and can even be influenced by changes in technology itself. Is that right?
Yes, spot on. The theory argues that access is not just a one-off event, but a continuing process in which, for example, new hardware, software upgrades, and changing user demands keep shifting the way we experience the digital world. It's like updating your operating system. Things are always evolving.
Right, quite dynamic. Now, I want to challenge one of the points briefly. Some argue that the gender gap in access, especially physical access, has closed. Yet self-assessments often show men rating their skills higher. How do we reconcile that?
That's a good point. While physical access might be largely equal now, there still exists a phenomenon in digital self-assessment. Men often overestimate their abilities. However, empirical performance tests show that actual skills don't differ significantly between genders. It's a perception versus reality issue.
That discrepancy is eye-opening. And then there's the matter of network approaches, looking at social support and relationships rather than just individual demographics, which adds another layer to how we understand digital inequality.
Yep, exactly. Instead of just focusing on individual attributes, the network or relational approach examines how, for example, a family, workplace, or community environment facilitates access. It's like having a reliable network of guides when you're navigating a complex city.
Totally, right? That analogy really captures it. With strong social support, even those who might not have the highest individual resources can still overcome some of these digital gaps, especially in usage and skill acquisition.
Right. And looking forward, most research is shifting focus to the benefits of access itself, how digital engagement translates into, say, better job prospects, more efficient access to public services, or enhanced social and political participation.
That future-oriented angle is crucial. It's interesting because if access leads to tangible benefits, it reinforces the cycle of inequality. Those already advantaged reap more benefits, making the divide deeper in sometimes unexpected ways.
Exactly. That's why the causal chain in the framework is so important. Categorical inequalities lead to unequal resource distribution, which then affects access and ultimately social participation. It's a cycle that can reinforce itself if not addressed.
So, in real-world terms, improving public policies and digital literacy programs could be key to breaking that cycle, don't you think?
Definitely. Interventions need to be multifaceted, addressing everything from affordability and initial motivation to continuous support and skills development. Policies should promote not just device provision, but robust training and support networks.
That makes total sense. And it's also crucial for future research to integrate both descriptive studies and causal analyses, so we understand not just who is online, but how being online makes a difference in, say, economic or political realms.
Yes, that's the next frontier in this field. We've seen how initial studies focused on mere access, but now research is starting to, illuminate the actual effects of digital inclusion or exclusion on participation in society.
The historical evolution of the digital divide is almost like a roadmap. It tells us where we've been and where we might be headed. But it's also a reminder that solutions must be dynamic and adaptive. Would you agree?
Absolutely. And there's a need to continually reassess the metrics we use as technology evolves. For instance, What counts as access today could be quite different in the near future with things like smart devices and IoT.
Indeed. And even though many believe that a point of nearly universal physical access might come, the quality of access, that is, what people can do with that access, may still remain unequal. It's a layered challenge.
Exactly. The discussion around digital divide is far from over because while nearly everyone might have a device someday, if they lack the skills or the supportive environment, the inequality persists.
Right on, absolutely. All in all, addressing the digital divide means looking at the entire chain, from motivation to physical, skills, and usage access, and then evaluating how that shapes broader participation in economic, social, and political life. It's a holistic challenge that requires equally holistic solutions.
Indeed, and it's a conversation that will remain vital as technology and society continue to evolve. Thanks for this engaging discussion. It really highlights the complexity and the critical nature of bridging these digital gaps.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks for diving into these insights. It's been a pleasure dissecting these layers of digital participation and inequality with you.